You know, we're going to talk about water, we're going to talk about horse pills, and we're going to talk about real estate. Now, how's that for a broad spoke as we go down the road? Jay Nelson is with us. Jay is a commercial and investment real estate. He's been working with that for years. The Archer Commercial Real Estate Services, and check them out, look it up, because quite frankly, they're good at what they do. Jay, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Well, thanks for the invite to come on today, Joel.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit, if we can, about where we sit in I don't want to say a post-COVID world, because we're still in it, but when it comes to people working at home and all of these issues, how is commercial real estate doing?
Well, that's a good question, and when I think about that question as a student of the market, I think what was the pre-COVID conditions in terms of transactional velocity and absorption rates and vacancy rates, and then what happened during COVID, and then what are the impacts now moving forward, because we're in a little bit of uncharted territory. So when I look back at the COVID year, when I look at the numbers compared to the previous year, in other words, 2020 versus 2019, in terms of commercial real estate transactions completed in the Fargo Moorhead market, it was surprisingly close. It was only off about 3% last year. So while it was slightly slower, it was not significantly slower. So
that's surprising.
I know.
I didn't. Those numbers must have jumped out at you a little bit.
They did. I have space listed for lease myself, and so I want to be able to go to my clients and tell them what the market conditions are. And to be honest, sometimes if something of mine isn't leasing, I want to be able to lean a little bit on the fact that, well, the market's down, and it was not down significantly. So that eliminated that argument from my tool belt. But so when I talk about what's happened 2021 year to date as compared to 2020 year to date, so we're comparing this year versus the COVID year. And so the COVID year was not a washout. It's a pretty standard year. But what's happening this year with leases and sales of commercial real estate and building permits of commercial real estate, the numbers are significantly higher and it's trending upward. And every month that we get into the calendar year seems to be stronger than the month before.
Is that an attitude of post-COVID, or is that just the strength of the Fargo economy?
I think it's the strength of the Fargo economy. It also might be, the deck's being reshuffled a little bit in terms of what types of users don't need to own their real estate. They would be better off leasing. There's probably some money in the market now where people are acquiring property with the thought that this is going to be really beneficial if the economy keeps rolling. And but when we look at when you think about real estate in Fargo Moorhead, and you hear about residential real estate sales and how hot the market is, what people forget, the assessed value of property in the city of Fargo is actually 53% commercial and only 46% residential. So on the commercial side, we do less transactions, but they're bigger dollar amounts, and there's just more of it out there in terms of valuation. So when you get Shields taking 120,000 square foot down by in the old Goldmark office complex, that's a pretty big deal in our market.
That's a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
That some of that surprises me and some of it doesn't, though. I mean, Fargo is kind of the anomaly, and I realize we're talking commercial, but it was my understanding that less than 50% of people in Fargo are homeowners, that this is kind of a I'll rent it type town. And so to be able to lease property like that and understand the tax code and everything that goes along with it, and quite frankly, the luxury of it, I guess that doesn't surprise me as much when it comes to the percentages.
Right, and I think that that home ownership number in Fargo, I think it's right around 53%. And so, we consider multifamily greater than 4 units to be commercial real estate. And so when we hear news like this morning, when NDSU's student population is down 300 students versus a year ago, commercial realtor brain to me says, well, 300 less students, 2 students per apartment, 150 less apartments rented over last year. What does that do to the vacancy rate? What's offsetting that a little bit is the workforce that's going to be coming into town for the diversion project when that starts to really crank up, and the ripple effect of what's happening with Amazon. If there was a certain commercial real estate segment right now that is really super hot, it is large square footage industrial space. Okay. Because we've gotten accustomed to working at home and shopping from home, and so If I order from Amazon, I expect it in 2 days, but if I order online from Hornbachers, I expect it pretty quick, and anybody else, any big box. And so a lot of that industrial space, 50,000 square feet and bigger, a lot of it's having multiple offers on it. I've been out showing it in the last couple of months, and without fail, the listing agent will call me and tell me, we've had a lot of people looking at that this week. So if you want to get something done, you got to move quick.
The other part I would think is the fact that people confuse, you mentioned Shields, you mentioned some others, they confuse where they do business with where they run the business.
Right.
And I think people don't get that. Jay, describe that to folks.
Well, Shields corporate headquarters are in Fargo, and so they've got a huge staff that takes up a lot of square footage, and so it only makes sense to put them all in one location, in one footprint, so there's maybe some collaboration between that. The retail setting is a little bit different. The store on 45th Street, I'm sure they're doing fine, but, we've learned to shop differently than we have in the past, and so a lot of retailers, they don't need, maybe a retailer that needed 50,000 square feet of retail floor before, maybe they need 25,000 now, and they need 10,000 in the back of the house to receive deliveries, and the rest of it just comes in, a day or two later. I think back in the 70s when I was a kid, there was a store on 13th Avenue South called LaBelle's.
Yeah.
Which was essentially, it was kind of an early type of Amazon where they had a small showroom, and then there was a big warehouse in the back, and it got picked and came out on some rollers.
Yep. And that was a big thing when you went to LaBelle's. I was going to ask you about, kind of the timeline that I'm old enough to remember, which is West Acres being built in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what the heck is this all about? And that became the place. When you went to West Acres, you did all your Christmas shopping, you did all of that. And then now you see this kind of Main Street feel to some of the commercial space where, okay, here's a little pub, Bulldog Tavern, here's a little, you can buy it here, you can buy it there. I mean, you said the way we shop, it is a lot different right now.
It is a lot different. There's the online aspect of it, but also as a longtime citizen of Fargo and with a lot of friends in business, I really feel an obligation to buy from them whenever it's cost effective and convenient and timely. And I operate an Airbnb here in town, and so I have guests that come from all over the country and all over the world, and I give them a list of local businesses and tell them, these are the people that you could support for me. These are the one-of-a-kind, entrepreneurial-owned businesses that, if you want to have a Fargo experience, you can go to the southwest part of town and you can find all the franchise flags there, but you won't have a Fargo experience like you do if you go to my friends at Blackbird Pizza or Dempsey's or Unglued, because those are people that live here and support our community, and you won't find those businesses in other cities.
I hope you had an investment in each one of those, because you should have. With you being willing to come on, have prices dropped? Are we looking at the ability per square foot to rent commercial space? Has it gone down at all?
Well, I'm going to break that into time segments. I watch that pretty close. The first quarter of the year in our commercial MLS, the vast majority of price adjustments were actually price decreases. And I think that we were all kind of wondering, we were still really early in the vaccine at that time. I think it was just maybe even getting to me. And so I think we were wondering what post-COVID was going to be like, and people were dropping prices accordingly. I saw less of that in the second quarter. And since then, in the third quarter, all I've seen is price increases. Okay. So people are anticipating that space is going to lease at some point in time. Now, the office vacancy rate is pretty close to 10%, which is about double what I would consider to be a healthy market. But a lot of those buildings have been on the market for, we track days on market, and a lot of them have been on the market for 700 to 1,000 days. They didn't lease before COVID, they didn't lease during COVID, and they might not lease after COVID. It might be time for some of those property owners to go in and spruce those up.
Is it still location, and location? I mean, and that location obviously moves the way you just described it, but if I decide, okay, this is where I'm going to be, if I decide this is where I'm going to build Amazon, for example, does instantly that area become the place to rent your apartment?
I think any place in town is going to be a good place to rent an apartment if you work at Amazon, because And I always tell people this story about how when I was a kid, we lived in Moorhead by Moorhead High School, and I'd ask my dad for a ride to the mall, and he would say, "I'm not going all the way across town." Yeah. Well, all the way across town is like 3 miles, and so you can live. There's a lot of apartments in South Fargo and in Moorhead and downtown where you can live, and you can still make it to Amazon in less than 20 minutes.
Well, speaking as somebody who drives 65 miles one way to work every day, which people think it makes me nuts, but it's one of the best times of my day. I mean, it really is. Of course, I'm not dealing with city traffic either, right. And Fargo has gotten so big that you literally have city traffic now. You know, I'm sure those from Minneapolis laugh about that, but those of us not from Minneapolis don't.
Right.
You mentioned NDSU, and you know, I was looking at NDSU enrollment numbers, and they're down, but they were down and down and down in the last 4 or 5 years. But then you look around NDSU, and you're seeing apartments going up there. Is that a wise move? You know, and I want to talk about just the college setting for 1 second, because, you know, more people are going to learn online now. I remember when Governor Burgum said that. He said that during his campaign, that we've got to reinvent higher education to meet what people are looking for. And then I drove by NDSU a couple years later, and I'm seeing all kinds of new housing. I'm seeing new dorms. Are we missing out on what the future holds?
I don't know. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, and I can only use my personal experience, and that is, in real estate, I have to take a number of hours per year of continuing education, and I can do that online. But to be honest, the technology that they use right now doesn't seem to have changed much in the last 10 years. I learn a lot more when I go down to Minneapolis and I go to a class of commercial realtors where we are actually in the class together and working together and breaking out into subgroups and doing little projects and coming back and doing presentation. I think there's a lot of value, especially for that 18 to 25-year-old, to be close to campus and to have those on-campus experiences. But the housing that went up there, I can't speak for the developer because they did their own research, but they probably anticipated that, you know, student population was just going to continue to grow. I think I heard a target number of 16,000 at one point in time.
Yep. You know, people started talking about one of the you know, taking us to a place as far as universities go, and, you know, land grant universities to a place that we would mirror other areas. And, you know, those of us, my time in the legislature and afterwards, were like, no. I mean, I'm glad it's growing. I'm glad we're seeing that growth. I think it's good. But you take it a time when you can come right out of college and make 80 grand, or even make 80, 90, 100 grand without going to college. They're not going to go to school.
Right. Yep. I think you're right on that. And, you know, when I think about those big universities that maybe they were modeling some of that after, I think of the University of Minnesota and the Dinkytown neighborhood and how everything is really walkable. And that's not necessarily the case with NDSU and the housing that got built.
Yeah.
I mean, you can walk to like maybe a couple of restaurants, but it doesn't have the same vibe as like a Dinkytown.
Yep. Jay, tell people how to get in touch with you.
Okay, Archer Commercial Real Estate. We're located in Fargo. You can find us at archerfargo.com. We have an office building right over by the Golf Dome, and all the contact information is on the website, so give us a holler.
Well, and the reason we asked you to come on is because you're the best at what you do.
Appreciate
and that's
that.
the truth.
Thank you, sir.
We talk about you all the time at the radio station as well. Jay, thank you, sir. Thanks for doing that. When we come back, we're going to talk about water monitoring. We're going to talk about where we're at with water levels in Minnesota lakes for those people that can't get their pontoons off the lift. So stick around. More coming to you as we head down the road.
Howdy folks, it's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our hay bussin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness. During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close.
Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars
For just $39.99.
Order right now and you can double it.
Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight, just pay a separate fee.
We'll even ship them to you free.
This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Welcome back to Down the Road. I've got a buddy over at Lake Melissa, and go over golfing with him every now and then. Beautiful sight, but he's got watercraft. And that watercraft is on a lake right now where the water is way down, big time down. And, he's not as bad as some others that just simply cannot get that watercraft out of the water because of how low it is. Joy Loughry joins us right now. She is a water monitoring and surveys unit supervisor with the Minnesota DNR. Joy, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thanks for having me.
How bad is it, Joy? I can tell you how bad it is on my buddy's lake and how frustrated they are. But, you're bigger than that. I mean, you see it all. What are you seeing in terms of the land of 10,000 lakes?
Sure. So we have a lake level monitoring program. It is a volunteer program, and so it's usually folks who live on the lakes who take those readings for us. So it's not like a real-time network, and so there's probably about 200 people who regularly submit water level data monthly. And right now, across the entire state, and including up there in the Northwest, we're seeing about 75% of the lakes are lower than normal, like across the history of their record.
But how low, Joy? I mean, it isn't surprising for the lakes to be lower at times. I get that. We've gone through, some drought type conditions before, but it just seems to me that this one's worse.
Yeah, we're starting to see, so really 1988 was really the big one that folks probably remember. 2012, 2013 was kind of low as well. And we are starting to see some of the lakes, Otter Tail County, Becker County's got Shell Lake, and Becker has a record since 1964, and it hit its lowest level this month. So we are seeing some lowest levels recorded. Unfortunately, not all of the records go back to 1988, but we really are rivaling 1988 levels right now for drought.
Okay, before we get into the recreational side of this, which a lot of people that are watching this on back, that it matters. It matters to them quite a bit, I realize. But what about what, in my personal opinion, matters more, which is the fishery, the water, the waterfowl. This has to be affecting them as well, Joy.
Right, and that, of course, is not my specialty. I'm a hydrologist, and so we do lake levels. But it is important to note that drought is a natural part of our hydrologic cycle. And there are some benefits to drought. mostly, lower lake levels or river levels, allowing some of that natural vegetation to establish itself and really strengthen the shoreline or strengthen that riverbed. I know in rivers, fish passages can be impacted if the water level gets too low and the fish can't move from pool to pool. It might get too hot. Lakes, you can have algae blooms or fish kills. When that water level gets real low, the dissolved oxygen might go down. And so it can be hard on them.
Joy, I know that, you're a woman of science with the Minnesota DNR. I get that. I'm not, but I live by a lake, and my lake is down, I would guess, a foot. But my lake is a spring-fed lake. Sure, it loves the rain. It wants the rain, but it's a spring-fed lake. I've got a number of places where I'm able to monitor or see how those springs are doing. And I gauge it in not in terms of gallons per minute, which I probably should be doing. I get that. I just take a quick look at it. And I look at what level it is in, for example, some of the drain fields that have been put in, whether it's by the pipe or how far it hits the rock in terms of other areas. And the springs are still doing its job on my lake. So I have to ask you, those lakes in Minnesota that you've got people monitoring, where are we at when it comes to that? Where are we at in terms of lakes that are spring-fed versus aren't?
Okay, I apologize because I cut out there for a second, but I believe your question was, what's the difference between a spring-fed lake and one that might not be?
Yep, exactly.
For sure, lakes that are connected to the groundwater system are going to do better through a drought condition until the groundwater level starts dropping. And up in the Northwest, we do have some areas where the groundwater levels are impacted. The city of Warren's having quite a bit of issues. We have a lot of well interference complaints, and that's where a drinking water source might be impacted by a community well or a irrigation well. And so when that groundwater system lowers as well, and it really, streams are the first to show impacts in a drought, then your lakes, and then the groundwater usually is how it goes. And so if that groundwater level then also drops below that lake level, it'll stop being spring fed and it'll actually start feeding, the lake will start feeding the groundwater system. So that can happen. But at this point, they're a little more insulated.
What about the water quality, Joy? Is that something that you monitor? Is that something that you work with other folks on?
It's really, that's the pollution control agencies kind of forte. We work with pollution control agency very closely, but it's with streams and rivers. We work with their total maximum daily load group, and we collect flows for them. But DNR does quantity. So, we're the ones who issue permits, both surface water and groundwater. If folks are using water, they get a water permit through us. And then, the quality side is really the Pollution Control Agency and the Department of Ag.
Okay. Well, I do want to talk to you about recreation in a little bit of time we have left. What about those individuals that have the boats, that have the pontoons, that have the jet skis, that are simply looking at how the heck do I get them off the lake? I mean, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, it's that's pretty difficult. And DNR has put out a couple news releases. And so if folks, Google Minnesota DNR boat launch, they should be able to find those fairly easily. It really becomes an issue if folks tend to power load a lot onto their trailers. They can create a scour. And as the water level goes down, other people try to get their trailer in. The trailer wheels can fall into that scour hole. And so it's really important for you to kind of walk that area before you back your trailer in and make sure, that it's safe to get your trailer into that water. But yeah, I think looking at this fall, the last news release we had out was kind of to pay attention and see if there's a level. You might have to take your boat out early this year because we don't quite know what's going to happen. Looking at the 5-day forecasts, it does look like we're going to get some rain, including up in the Northwest. And so hopefully that will help a little bit.
You bet. For some of those wildfires, I think it's just desperately important. Last one, Joy. I saw that the Minnesota DNR or someone are telling people with the lifts, and I thought it was an interesting approach to take a pressure washer and spray underneath the legs of that lift, thereby taking it down, which I thought was pretty interesting. Making the sand go away a little bit, which I don't know how it works.
Oh, to allow it to go a little lower in elevation. Yeah,
exactly.
I haven't heard that before, but that could be a tip or a trick. I know if worse comes to worse, hiring somebody to come with a piece of machinery that can actually lift the boat out of the water, is an option. But we would hope that they'd be able to trailer it on their own.
Yep.
From the launch.
I think some of that's going to happen. Joy, thanks for coming down the road with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You bet. They do a great job. When we come back, Dr. Derine Winning is going to join us. Horse pills. I'm not kidding you. We're going to end up talking about horse pills and whether or not you should take them right after this.
From Lambeau Field to your living room. Catch all the Green Bay Packers preseason games exclusively on Beck Sports. Available on KRDK, KNDB, or KNDM TV. The Pack take on the Houston Texans August 14th, followed by the New York Jets August 21st, and end off the preseason with the Buffalo Bills August 28th. Check Beck.Sports to find more scheduling and local channel information.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after hours oasis of sanity.
How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Horse pills, ladies and gentlemen, should you be taking them? Right now, many of you are going to say, what? Are you kidding me, Joel? No, I'm serious. Should you be taking horse pills as a human being? That's part of the discussion that's going on now today across the United States. Well, there's an individual that I think you need to hear from. If you're even debating it, or if you have a friend that's doing it, or you know what, or if you've already done it yourself, Dr. Derine Winning is a veterinarian with the Valley Veterinary Hospital She lives in this world, not the world of eating horse pills, the world of using horse pills in veterinary medicine. Let's bring her in and have a conversation about it. Dr. Winning, thank you. Thank you for coming on down the road.
My pleasure, Joel. Good to get this cleared up.
I don't get it, Derine. I don't get it, Doc. I mean, there are people that are using horse pills to fight COVID. They won't take the vaccine, but they're using horse pills. Can you, before you tell them don't do it, which thank God you're going to, I know that. Why are they doing it? What in their mind, if you had to look inside that debate, what do you think is causing them to think that this would work?
Well, I think they're hearing stories about this. And the first thing we have to realize is that this is not scientifically proven yet. And we need to wait. The jury is out. We need to wait. The second thing is these medications are readily accessible to people. They can purchase them for their horses and cattle. Ivermectin is the specific medication we're talking about, and ivermectin is used to treat and prevent parasitic infections in animals, whether that ranges from dogs and cats or cattle and horses. And the specific ivermectin medication that's readily available to producers is the ivermectin for cattle. And you can imagine that strength of that medication is much higher in concentration than what a human would take. And so when we're thinking about that, it's not a guessing game. People can really get seriously hurt and damage themselves by taking animal medications.
So you mentioned cattle, and how much does well, it goes through. I mean, it goes through, to being a calf, to being, that around 2 years where it's going to go off to butcher. But the point of the matter is that the medication is based upon size, right. and the science of it is size. Speak to that if you could a little bit.
Well, in animals, we as veterinarians are dosing animals based on size. And so when you start thinking of those porons and the ivermectin available for horses and cattle, it's basically going to be formulated for an animal that's 500 to 1,500 pounds of body weight. So looking at that, you can imagine that 150 pound, 250 pound adult isn't going to compare to that. And not only that, we know differences between species. We as veterinarians especially know the difference between species processing medications, metabolizing medications, the difference between a dog and a cat, a horse and a pig. They all metabolize medications and take different dosages. And so we have to be careful about that too. Humans are not able to take animal medications. They are not safe to be taken by humans. Every species has their own differences.
So, I mean, you're in a profession where you talk to each other, where you learn from each other. I'm sure there's continuing ed. I'm sure there's meetings, everything like that. Are you seeing this go off the shelf, if not here, in other places? Are you seeing that people are saying they're buying it for horses, for cattle, for everything else, and you're seeing more being used than what normally would be?
So far, we have not seen that to be the case, but I went online and was trying to look at available medications, ivermectin specifically, that people could get their hands on. It's out there. And again, I think we just have to be very cautious about people taking the opportunity to use it, especially when there's panic about COVID. When it's it's scary. It's very scary, but there are approved medications for people now that are much more effective and safer than it would be to take ivermectin.
The Food and Drug Administration came out and they said, this is ridiculous. I mean, they put it in kinder words, but, they put a statement out saying, don't do this. Speak to that, if you will, because we're crossing kind of your area of expertise. I mean, you're a veterinarian versus people that now have appointed themselves to be physicians, even though they're not. So speak to that, if you would, about the Food and Drug Administration and the role that they've had to take.
Well, I think, FDA oversees not only human drugs, but animal drugs as well. And so they're an all-encompassing entity, government entity. And so they're seeing the problem that has occurred in this area. They also are concerned not only about the strength comparisons that we've just talked about, they're also concerned about the inactive ingredients that are included in animal medications.
During the side effects, because with any medicine, there's going to be some side effects that people aren't going to think about, they're not going to realize that they're putting into their body. What side effects come on and are part of people who take horse medicine, who take horse pills? I think we might have lost Derine. When she comes back, I'll ask her that very question. But here's the point. Imagine the frustration that the Derine Winnings have. Imagine the frustration that they have because their life is based upon science. It's based upon, look, here is a medicine that I can utilize to help cattle, to help horses, to help get the job done. And I would add this, based upon a certain weight of what it's being prescribed to. So I am curious about the side effects and what comes along with that. I hope we get back with Dr. Winning and are able to find that out. But do you know anybody defending this? I mean, come on, folks. Do you know somebody in your social circle that is anti-vaccine? Because if they're taking horse pills, that means they haven't been vaccinated. These are individuals that would say on any given day that, well, the Food and Drug Administration hasn't approved any of these vaccine medicines. Well, they have. Pfizer has been approved. And so then you pivot. You start, making the argument that, well, okay, I'm not taking something in my body that was studied this quick. Well, okay, then let's talk about that a little bit if we can. Because here's the truth. It has been studied. And the ultimate study is that over the last couple months to almost a year now, we have seen millions and then billions of people take these medicines, these vaccines, to try to get rid of COVID and now the Delta. So why are we even talking about this? The very same people that are anti-vax, those very same people are the people that, that are taking horse pills. I'm not kidding. They're taking horse pills. If you don't think this is happening, you're wrong. Go check it out. The Derine Winnings of the world are the ones that bring common sense to the discussion. I'm sorry we lost her, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about side effects, but it's worth a Google from you. And understand this, don't get the information on whether or not this is good or bad by some person who claims to have heard from someone who heard from someone on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Don't do that. Go see your physician. We all have one. And if I went to see mine about horse pills, I know what he would say. When we come back, water restrictions in Fargo, obviously going back to the drought. How long is it going to happen? What's going on? We'll talk about it when we continue our trek down the road.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Well, we have Troy Hall in the rig coming down with us now here as we head on down the road. He's the Water Utility Director for the city of Fargo. We've been talking about low water conditions. We've been talking about what goes along with that. We've been talking about how, quite frankly, lives are changing because of that, because there's people who don't want one brown grass petal on their yard. Well, you know what? It's a different world, and we got to talk to Troy about that. Troy, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I want to talk to you phase 3. You shift to phase 3 of the drought response. Tell people what that is. I'm assuming it was phase 1, phase 2 first. What does phase 3 response mean?
The phase 3 response, really what we're targeting, the big use in summer that drives up our demand is lawn watering. So what we're doing here is 1 day a week lawn watering within Fargo. So we're following the schedule of essentially your garbage day is that's when allowable lawn watering. And if we all do that and help out, I think that'll curb our demand quite a bit. But that's really the target of it. There are a few other minor things, but that's really a target.
So it shouldn't be hard to remember when you put it that way, because everybody knows what day the garbage man's coming. They might miss it. They might say, why didn't you put the garbage out? But they know what day the garbage man's coming. And you're saying that's the day they can water. Troy, I have to ask you this. Should they be watering at all? Are we going to get to there?
Well, I think at this point, the watering is okay. What we're really watching closely is the stream flows. We have 2 sources of water. Stream flows by our intakes on the Red River and Cheyenne River. And right now we're okay with that. We're just really concerned with the way things have been going in our with the sources that feed the Red River and Cheyenne River, that in the future we may not have enough water. So we're trying to curb it now. But right now, there are exceptions, such as newly planted lawns, flowers and vegetable gardens, some of those types of things that are pretty low percentage of use. It's the lawn watering. That's the big one.
Troy, you've become a hub, though, in the city of Fargo for others' water. I mean, you've become a city that sells water. West Fargo is one example that instantly comes to mind. You have probably no control over West Fargo. How do you deal with that? Can you cut back on what West Fargo is going to get from you?
Yeah, well, I think that it's really in their jurisdiction to curb the water use, but that since the city of Fargo, we went to phase 3, we got to have them and have an opportunity for response. But I'm hopeful that they would help us and follow the guidelines that we have in place. But right now, what we put the restrictions are for city of Fargo, and then Cass rural water customers in South Fargo that are within city limits. But we're hopeful that West Fargo works with us.
You know, in my days of managing a rural water system, the quality of that water changed seasonally. It did. What about this? What about the Cheyenne River at low flows and the Red River at low flows in terms of treating that to the standards I know that the city of Fargo has been able to and wants to be able to treat it to? Right.
Well, I think we're pretty well prepared on that front. We recently completed a membrane water treatment plant that has been operational since 2019. So the water in the Cheyenne is essentially Devil's Lake water at this point. So it's very salty with some concerns there, very salty and hard water. But we have the membranes to help us out with that. And then we're just with our water system, we're used to what's called a flashy water with the rivers. That can change quite a bit very quickly. A lake situation or a groundwater situation, they're pretty stable for the most part, but we're pretty used to the changes in water quality and can adapt very quickly to that with the technology we have.
Okay, so this is going to sound like a weird question, Troy, but you know, you're not telling people to limit showers. You're not telling them to limit what they're using in their kitchen and other places in their house. You're telling them when it comes to lawn watering. So, you know, in terms of how you get rid of water, if they overwater, those type of things, you know, the curb, the gutter, those type of things, if you reduce it, is it going to affect those in terms of moving water through the curb and the gutter system?
So no, I don't. I'm not quite understanding your question, but I don't think it should really impact that on the wastewater front and stormwater front. Is that or what?
Yeah,
what
it's a bad question, but let me pose to you what I'm getting at, because all things are designed with water going through them. You know, they're designed to have water move through them, and then if certain waste products get into them, the water doesn't take care of moving it through. And so, you know, I was curious if people aren't using that much water outside, if that affects the system that you put in outside to make sure it itself doesn't build up with solids.
Yeah, and I think that's probably okay. I don't think that poses a problem on the wastewater front or reclamation front in North Fargo, because there's sufficient flow going through that system. On the stormwater front, when it flows through there, like we had pretty much a lack of precipitation, obviously, here for a few months, and so there wasn't really much running through that system for quite a while here. And when we got the rains, that water flushed out and kind of cleared out that system. So I think we're fine on that front.
You know, how quickly can this change? You know, you're basing everything off the Cheyenne and the Red. If you get a couple-inch rain, does this give you the opportunity to take a new look at it, or are we looking at the restrictions for the rest of this year going into freeze-up?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of water to make up. I think, you know, what's different, it doesn't really matter what happens in Fargo. It's what happens in the watersheds that get to the Red River. So, for example, the Ottertail River, the Ottertail watershed, which includes like the towns of Pelican Rapids, Detroit Lakes, Battle Lake, some of those towns. The precipitation's really got to fall within those boundaries and eventually make it to the our Red River intake, and that's where there's a real deficit. Everyone I think knows, they've seen pictures of stream flows like on the Otter Tail. There's just nothing there. Lake levels are down, so we almost got to get enough precipitation to replace that deficit before it really transfers into more significant water flow by our intakes.
I'm sorry, Troy. We spoke to that earlier in the show with a representative from the Minnesota DNR, and the picture that she painted wasn't exactly rosy. You know, she didn't sugarcoat it. She just flat out said where the levels are at. And I know that we've had a couple of rains here in the last couple of days, but nothing that we would call soakers, you know, that type of thing. Troy, are people arguing? Are people fighting? I can imagine one neighbor going over to the other saying, look, I'd like to have a green lawn too, but, you know, there's restrictions on and you're not adhering to them. How do you police this thing?
Yeah, well, we're setting up. We're having monitoring throughout the city. So we're going to be driving through and monitoring, and then, you know, our goal is to get people to comply. So we'll be having notices to try and get people to comply. So we'll be monitoring, and we do have some of that, neighbors calling on neighbors and that type of thing, but we're taking that more case by case. So
last question, I promise, Troy. What's the ultimate enforcement? You go, you warn them, you knock on the door, say knock it off, you do those type of things, but yet they won't adhere to it. Do you get out to the curb stop and just shut it off for a while and teach them a lesson?
We hope it doesn't get to that, but that's allowable under our rules, under our city ordinance, that we could get to that. We hope it doesn't get to that point.
All right, Troy, I'm going to be praying for rain, as I know you are. So hang in there, bud.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Troy Hall, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're going to have some closing thoughts for you as we continue the short part we have left of Down the Road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc. Yeah.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you can pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Okay, where do you put your money? What do you invest in? The people of North Dakota have tax dollars, and they believe in education. They believe in K-12 education. They believe in higher education. There's an investment made in higher education, a bigger investment now than what there has been for a while, because people have been telling them that the need is there, right? These institutions have a higher enrollment than ever before. Well, let's go over some of those numbers. Let's do this. NDSU, let's use them as the example. And I think you could look at a lot of different institutions and maybe these numbers would mirror it, but I think NDSU is the example I want to give, and you'll figure it out in the end. Okay. In 2010, the enrollment at NDSU was 14,407. 11, 14,399. 12, 14,433. 13, 14,629. In 2014, 14,747. Now pay attention to this. 15, 14,516. We're going down. 16, 14,432. In 17, 14,358. You see what I'm building up to here, right? 18, 13,796. 19, 13,173. And in 20, last year, 12,846. And this year, it's down from that. Okay, why? Why? Because we're not doing what we need to do to meet what the customer wants. It's going to be distance learning, ladies and gentlemen. And here's what we're investing our money in higher education. We're not investing it in making sure we're ready for distance learning, that we have the professors that can deal with distance learning. What we're doing is building dorms. We're giving money to really rich people like Jim Rohrs, who partner, and our legislators who are pushing to make sure that, you know what, NDSU makes an investment into all the apartments and the housing, because Lord knows Dean Brashani was a little bit afraid of Jim Rohrs, and he's his buddy, right? So if you go to NDSU, you're going to see a whole line of new housing. Well, when you're sitting there with 1,500, soon to be 2,000 less students, where are they going to live? Are they looking for apartments? Are they living all alone? Hey, it's not the right investment. I don't care who's a state senator. You got to be willing to look at him and say no. It's a bad investment. Good riding with you, folks.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow, and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit my